Yesterday was easily one of the worst days for the amusement industry of all time. King Ka being knocked down was easily only the second most horrible thing that happened yesterday. And the thing that happened that was a lot worse could potentially ruin an entire country's amusement industry. Of course, I'm talking about the Eejanaika incident. It was terrible. There's no doubt about that. It is not a good situation. We still don't know exactly what happened, but we have a good idea. So I'm going to go over what happened, and then obviously I'm going to share my thoughts on what I think will happen in the future, what will happen to the ride, what will happen to Fuji-Q, and what will happen to the entire Japanese amusement industry. So obviously at 11:50 or somewhere around there, Eejanaika was going through normal maintenance routines in the morning, and a maintenance worker was working under the track, and something happened, and the wheels started moving all of a sudden, and that caught him in between the track and the train, and of course emergency responders reacted quickly, but apparently that blow knocked him unconscious, and later he was pronounced dead, which really sucks. I feel really bad for him and his family, but I gotta try to find what happened here. Obviously, coasters don't just start on their own like that. That doesn't happen. So I figure there had to have been someone else working there and could have potentially started something on accident or without warning. I'm still questioning how that's possible if that's the case, due to all the sensors, and it should have noticed he was under the track. But it's still really weird, even if that happened. The train also had to have been moving very slowly for the victim not to just be knocked back, but instead crushed. It's very strange. If this was a normal roller coaster, you would have had to just been standing in the right position at the right time for something like this to happen, to just be crushed in the way the victim was. But then I thought about what this coaster actually was. It's a 4D coaster, and 4D coasters have two sets of rails, and then it all made more sense. He must have gotten caught in between the two sets of rails somehow. But that being said, I don't even know if that makes sense, because I'm not sure how big the gap is between each set of rails, and if that's even possible to fit through them. It's weird. I'd have to look at it even closer. But from zooming in on pictures, it looks like you'd have to be really skinny to fit through there. I mean, I know the Japanese are really healthy, so I guess anything's possible, but wow, I mean, it's really weird to think about. I can't wait to read the accident report on this. That's going to be really interesting. And the big thing here is the maintenance workers at fault, or is Fuji-Q at fault? Because if the maintenance workers are at fault, maybe, like I said, someone else started something up without notifying the other maintenance worker, or maybe the maintenance worker just didn't have everything set. Who knows what happened right now? But if that's the case, then I think maybe the ride gets shut down, but I don't even think that happens. It just undergoes a huge investigation, and everything goes back to normal at some point. But if it's Fuji-Q's fault, maybe their maintenance wasn't under control, maybe some sensors were off, and something happened that really shouldn't have, then the Japanese coaster industry and amusement industry could be screwed. If you're not aware of how the Japanese amusement industry works right now, there's basically 4/5 parks that actually get an insane amount of people coming through the doors every day. Those being Nagashima, both the Disney parks, Universal, and Fuji-Q. If this is Fuji-Q's fault, there is zero chance that it's staying up with Nagashima and those others that I mentioned. Zero chance. Japanese culture is largely based on trust. I mean, if anything has any sort of incident, then a lot of people will not trust it and not go back to it. There's been a couple little incidents, and one obviously pretty major one with Fujinraijin 2, that have sort of made the Japanese wary of safety in amusement parks, which is kind of sad, because obviously Japan's a very safe country. The amusement industry is very safe, so put those two together and you've got a really safe industry. But unfortunately, the Japanese don't really see it that way sometimes, especially with these lower tier parks such as Himeji Central Park or Greenland, something like that. And if this is Fuji-Q's fault, it could be disastrous. I think there's a chance Eejanaika could never open again, a strong chance actually, which is really sad. I mean, people are devastated over King Daka, Dododompa, but like, no, this would be a huge blow. I personally think the Terrifying Triplets look better, but this would probably be the consensus number one defunct coaster in the world. I mean, the Terrifying Triplets just looked absolutely deadly, but like, this thing is insane. This ride was a ton of people's number one and was in like everyone's top 10 who had ridden it. It's an absolute masterpiece, and I'll be really sad if I never get to ride it. Of course, there's still Dinoconda, but it's not quite as good from what I hear and what I see, so it'll be really sad. And it's just not going to feel the same having a Japanese coaster lineup without this thing. For the park itself, I don't think it could survive after this if it is found to be their fault. Because again, I just don't think the Japanese general public is going to show up. I think they're just going to lose too much business, and they're either going to have to cut way back, remove rides, do the whole Richard Zimmerman dance, or they're just going to have to shut down, which will be really sad. But, it's kind of what might happen. And then as far as the entire industry goes in Japan, I don't think it's going to hit Universal and Disney too hard, but it could hit Nagashima, and it's definitely going to hit some of these other lower tier, sketchier looking amusement parks. Some people might not want to trust those as much, which will be really sad because Japan's currently probably a top 3 country in the world right now for coasters. Obviously, Germany and the US are probably better, but I think it's right there at number 3. But if this thing kills the industry, it's not going to be there for sure, which is really sad. So let me know what you guys think of this Eejanaika incident. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.